From viral moments in the classroom to a brand new nationwide tour, Damien's story is proof that you can chase your dreams without taking off the boots that got you.
Today on Boots to Boots, we're talking to the frontman of Orlando-based rock band Felicity, Damien Fagiolino.
How you guys doing? Really excited to be here, and I'm definitely excited to talk more about the teaching, the rock star life, but also the musician life. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, before we get into the teaching and the things we have in common and your viral videos on social media, which is how we connected, I want to know what got you into music, what inspired you, how did you meet your bandmates, and when did you decide okay, we're going to start a band, Felicity?
Oh man, this is probably 10 years ago, I think, for Felicity. At least I've always been in music, a good portion of my life, but specifically Felicity, it started about 9 or 10 years ago, where we actually started on Craigslist, believe it or not, which could be scary for some people, but that's literally the way a lot of musicians met each other, through Craigslist. So I can't remember if it was either me or Drew messaged each other first about saying, hey, would you like to just jam a couple songs and see if we like each other enough to start a band. And that's kind of how the band started. And then we kind of found all of our other members. The bass player, Mike, was also through Craigslist, believe it or not. And then we kind of went through some changes in the band. And now our drummer, Rashid, we met through a promoter and things like that. So that's how the band came to be, Felicity. I actually was a good portion of my life growing up. I always loved music. I was always singing, in, I think, middle school, high school. I was always singing. No bands or anything like that. But I was actually more geared into soccer during that time. So I was very big in sports, and I had played majority of my life. So that was something that I really, really wanted to do with my life, soccer. So at some point I got an ACL injury, and that really took me out, kind of stunted a little bit of my growth there. So at some point I was I need to make a transition to something else that I'm really passionate about. And that's when kind of music started becoming a lot more prevalent in my life, and picked up the acoustic guitar, taught myself everything. Just basically went to YouTube and learned a lot of chords and started playing a lot more. A lot of frustration in there, trying to actually learn the instrument, but then found out how to do that, then found out how to sing and play at the same time. And so that kind of started that journey for me. And then it was going to a lot of concerts, actually. I remember going to Warped Tour and seeing 6 or 7 stages, all different styles of music. And it was something that just immediately gravitated with me, just seeing a crowd, everyone there not knowing each other really, but everyone screaming the words, knowing the same lyrics. And it just seemed just an incredible thing that I felt like I wanted to do with my life. And that's what kind of drew me to music.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, it's cool to think I got to wrestle at Download Festival one time over in the UK. And it's both of the worlds that I love. I love music. I've always been drawn to just creativity and just different sounds and a different voice to just get out there and hearing stories through music. And that's what we kind of do in wrestling as entertainers too. So for me as a professional wrestler, there's those moments in your career where something clicks and you finally realize you're on to something. What was the moment that you felt then as the group of Felicity, oh wow, we actually have something right here. This could be a thing.
Yeah, that's an amazing, I definitely know what you mean by that, because a lot of the times you're just I want to do this and we'll see if this works. And that was something that I think was our mentality in the beginning. We're hey, we just want to write some songs, and maybe people will care enough to come to a couple shows. Maybe people will be interested enough and buy some merch at some point. So I think for me, it happened a little bit more recent, actually, where I started noticing a lot more people at the shows. I think on this last tour we did in the summer, we had I think 4 or 5 shows sell out back to back to back. And I think that was a moment for me that I was this thing is going a lot faster than I thought it was going to go. So I thought that was an incredible moment to see us. We had toured a while, and really not had any sold out shows and things like that. So I think that was a moment for me that really showed me a lot. And I think also one of our songs called The Weather really popping off and hitting into the millions with streams. I think that was another moment that was really wow, I think we have something here. I think the fans that we have are really dedicated and loving what we do.
Yeah, well, getting into those videos, again, like I said, that's how you guys just popped up on my Explore page, and it was you in your classroom, and it said, when your students surprise you with singing your song, and like, obviously I was a preschool teacher for years before wrestling became my full-time job. And so I know what that's like when your students are like, oh, you're a wrestler and people beat you up. And does that really hurt you, Miss Deonna? And I'm like, no. And I have to explain to these 4-year-olds, what wrestling is. But to have that connection with them, how has that changed your classroom life, if it has at all?
No, definitely. Like to be honest, at first I was a little bit more private with a lot of the things when it came to like the rock star kind of like life. Just because I wasn't sure how parents would also take that. Sometimes there's a connotation with rock stars where it's like, oh, all of these guys are doing crazy things and stuff like that. So a lot of the times I like earlier on in my career, I kind of kept it a little bit more private, but the more that the band has started to grow, the more that students come in the classroom and they're like, Mr. Fagiolino, I searched you up on Google and I saw that you're in a band and I saw this picture with you and a guitar, and like, is that really what you do outside of this? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I do this. And then they start to like learn some of the songs as well. They're like, hey, I really like your song Lovesick Blues, or I really like The Weather, and they start singing it to me. And then I even have some of the parents that come in when we have like a meet the teacher or open house that come in. They're like, hey, I really love your band as well, and I'm so glad you're my child's teacher this year. And it's pretty incredible because like I said, for me, like I was a little bit more private with it, but now it just seems that it's something that I can't really hide anymore, that it's kind of like synonymous with me in the school, and the kids absolutely love it. I think it's like to your point, I think the kids really enjoy it in the classroom, because sometimes like when you're constantly doing work and things like that and you have no release, like when it comes to like just expressing yourself and things like that, I think that's something that I've brought into the classroom that the kids really, really enjoy, and they love to just have those moments. And I think it's something that's really helped them out with also focus as well, because they're doing pretty well in class too. So I can't complain. That's awesome. I think it's created a good environment for the classroom, and it's something that really I did not force at all. It was kind of like completely from them, and it still shocks me to this day.
Yeah,
you get to become the cool teacher. Like, so everybody's talking about you. Like, I had a few of those growing up. Like the teacher that you just kind of saw something and we're like, oh wow, they do this also. Where you're a musician out that, and then that's your connection to your students then too, because they don't just see the teacher side of it where it's all about books and do this test, get this homework in at a time. Now you're here like connecting with them with that music level of it. And then you get the viral video to go out, and then you have the one that even blows up even more with that. Like, how does that feel like for you and just for the band? Like, how does that feel to have those moments?
Oh, it's crazy. It's to your point as well. Like when I was growing up as well, like it's something that I didn't think about too much with my teachers and things like that. I really thought like, they're coming to work and they're like, you need to be learning, you need to be focusing. And I didn't think about it too much. I had a couple of teachers that I definitely remember though, having like an impact on me and being influential. My father was also a teacher growing up, so I was always helping him out, like when he needed like some papers like graded and things like that. So he was like that. So I feel like that probably like rose up in me as well, like growing up. But it's just something that's really cool. And all the guys, at first we were like, when I showed a couple of the guys, I was like, you guys would never believe like what happened in the class today. And these guys were like, no way, show me the video. And like I had showed them, and they were just like blown away that the kids like learn the song and told me to like actually like, hey, can we sing it in the classroom? So I think, and then the fact of like when we decided to like post it at some point, we we're like, maybe, I don't know, we'll see how this goes. Just to like also have a connection with our fan base as well. See, it just kind of shows like a human element to us as well, where we're not just like rock stars. We also have other jobs as well to survive.
Yeah, but how do you balance like teacher boots are very different than rock star boots. So what is that like for you to, Monday through Friday, you're in the classroom, and then, to be a rock star, very similar to being a wrestler, we work on the weekends. We're busy with shows, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So then for you to go around Monday morning, 7 a.m., you got to put those teacher boots back on. It must not be easy to balance both of those.
No. I think that's a great, like, there's definitely a similarity with like what you said with like wrestling, and just the fact of like having to make sure that you're performing when you're in that ring or when you're on that stage. Like it's something that you've got to do. That's what the fans expect. So it's like that mentality kind of like it's kind of interesting because on the weekends you're doing that a lot of times. Sometimes it's even during like during the week as well. Like I remember finding myself like having to play like earlier on in the band's career. We would just kind of take every show that kind of came to us. So like sometimes I found myself getting home at like 2, 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. And then I was like, I'm not calling off. Like I got to make sure that I show up the next day because my students need me. And like, I gotta be ready to make sure that they're learning. So like I made sure I was there, and like, it's just an interesting like dynamic because at some point I'm like performing on stage and then I'm like, okay, now I'm in the classroom. So I kind of found, to your point, like a similarity where like where I'm in the classroom, I feel like when I'm strapping up those boots, so to speak, like you were talking about.
If you've made it this far, you know these stories mean a lot to us. And if they mean something to you too, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Every like, comment, and subscription helps this community of boots grow a little bit bigger every week. So tell us what boots you're wearing right now, whether they're combat boots, wrestling boots, or work boots.
We're all walking our own path.
A lot of times growing up, I'm sure you guys also as well, like remember classrooms that are like, oh man, I can't wait to get out of here or get to the next class. So
it's like every class. I just want to play football and play my pants.
Steve in school is a real issue in our relationship.
If I had a teacher like you, though, I would have probably paid more attention.
Believe it or not, like I was the same way. Like growing up, there was so many times like, oh, I want to get out of here, and I can't believe I became a teacher, to be honest. But like it was that too. So I find myself having to also like strapping up those boots and being like, I need to like make sure that I'm also performing. They're engaged, they're learning, they're having fun, and so it's a bit like performing, to be honest with you. I've kind of like I've kind of found that common thread between the two, where like on stage I have to be performing and making sure the fans are having fun. If I see someone yawning in the crowd, I jump out there and like I give them a mic and I make them sing with me just to wake them up if that ever happens. Like, but it's the same thing in class. If I see a kid like yawning or something like that, I'm like, hey, what do you think? What do you think we could do here? Like, you know, like let's engage them. Let's make it exciting. So it's kind of forced me to, I think, be a better teacher as well. So, and a better frontman. Like, so like.
No, I think showing up when you don't want to show up is so important, and is definitely something, you know, throughout our podcast we've talked about is that discipline you have to have when you're changing those boots. But I guess what I want to ask you next is, have you ever thought about when it's time to permanently take the teacher boots off? Because Felicity has just announced a nationwide tour. And so if your momentum keeps growing the way that it has, at some point you're going to have to make a decision. And for me, that was in 2018. WWE was ready to sign me. And it was so bittersweet because my dream was coming true. I always, since I was young, wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I wanted to wrestle for WWE. But I also loved my students and loved the community that I created at my school. But I had to take those boots off and take that next leap. So is that something you're slowly approaching? And what has that been like mentally for you?
I think that's an amazing question. Like, and the fact that we share that similarity, it's something that I've thought about a lot. A lot of the guys have also mentioned it to me as well. So some of the guys like work from home and with their business, so they kind of have a little bit more freedom when it comes to that. So for me, like, I've thought about that too. Like another our bass player in the band is also a teacher as well. He's high school. He's high school as well. So it's interesting. Like we have 2 teachers in the band, so we kind of talk to each other about that a lot. Actually, that question comes up. It's the fact is like, when do you take that leap? If so, and then also this is something that I've done, you know, a good portion of my career. So it's quite difficult to kind of like know when that leap is, and if it does happen, you know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of been something on my mind, and they've also posed it to me a lot more. So it has to be something I think that we have to kind of like really analyze and say, like, can this be something that is also sustaining ourselves as well outside of it? Because the teaching still brings a stability to me where I'm able to make sure that I have that income coming in, whereas musician can be sometimes a little bit up and down, you know what I mean? Like depending on
wrestling is the same way.
So, yeah, there's so many ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask you too, like how the rest of the band held all its attention, but it's good that you guys have each other. And like the fact that you have another teacher that's in there, like you can relate to, and you can have that like conversation with, like, what do we do? Like when this kicks off, but at least at the same time, you have something, no matter what, you could always fall back on.
Yeah.
As for you on that end, it's just like, for us, pro wrestling's never gonna last forever. It's never. There's always going to be something after, and then for you, at least you have something to fall back on that one end. But yeah, that just you already answered my question.
No, and following up on that, I think that, you know, yes, I was a teacher for so long, but I'm also in school now, also wearing both of those boots. When I put the you know, university student boots on and master degree student boots on, as opposed to putting my wrestling boots on. So I think it'll always be a struggle, especially in our industries, because there's a lot out of our control. You know, wrestling is written by a creative team. It's not written from us and what we want to be doing. And same for you guys. You're relying on fans buying tickets for your shows that you announce. You're relying on engagement, which, you know, that momentum, 10 million views on one video of you telling parents that you're teaching their kids real music. I mean, that's like what I imagine band dreams of, getting that type of engagement.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like that I had no idea that would take off, and that so many people would connect to that too. And when I read through the comments, we do our best to read through as many comments and respond to as many fans as we can, and just people that find us through the video as well. And the fact that so many people were relating and saying, like, I wish I had a teacher like you when I was growing up, or like at this, you're doing great work, like you're doing God's work and stuff like that. And it's incredible to read that, and just like see the connection that a lot of people have gotten through that. And also, I think like it's just something that I think brightens people's day a little bit, makes them laugh a little bit. There's a lot of difficulty sometimes in the world, and I feel like if our videos can provide a little bit of entertainment when it comes to, like, you know, people just watching and engaging online, I think it's an incredible thing that we could also bring. And then they realize, if, you know, they're like, hey, I guess these guys are a band too. So if they check us out, they check us out too. But like, we do it with more to kind of like just make people like also have fun and engage, because we're a band that has a lot of fun, and like we like to engage with our fan base.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what Boots to Boots is too, is like we like to engage in that way, just getting different voices here on the podcast with us and talking about those success stories of wearing multiple pairs of boots. And you guys have done that on both ends, you as a teacher and the band as a whole as Felicity. And like with all the success, and before we wrap this up, I want to ask you a few questions. Want to
have a little fun.
One of the more rapid fire one I was thinking about earlier. Like, I have an idea. Maybe we can ask him. Like, so the type of music, I listen to so many different types of music, and I always kind of go off of the way I'm feeling, especially if I'm in the gym. So for you, when you're angry, what do you listen to?
When I'm angry, I'd say probably metal, definitely metal.
Any specific band?
I'd say I've definitely been listening to Beartooth a lot. Beartooth is a good one. Good one for when you're in the gym and you just need to be lifting heavy and you just want to forget about things.
Okay. When you're having a beer, hanging out, just chilling with your buddies, what do you listen to?
I'd say a lot of emo pop punk music. I'd say a good example would be like Taking Back Sunday would be a good one. I really enjoy listening to.
I know that one.
I put some country music in there too. Like I definitely enjoy some country music as well.
Oh yeah.
What do you look for inspiration? Like if you're trying to get in a vibe in that mode, I kind of do that with wrestling, and I know we do that where we just kind of get in the zone to create something or think of promos, ideas. What inspires you to go out and write music?
I think the world definitely like inspires me. Like when I see things around me, just commentary as well, social commentary on the world, what's going on. Like we're actually finishing up writing a few songs in the studio, and like a lot of I've been noticing is a lot of sometimes people are kind of with technology, and it kind of like there's an addiction sometimes to that technology. So even myself included, and sometimes it's hard to break away from that. So I think I kind of find things in the world, and I think that's something that definitely inspires me. But also other artists. If I hear a kick-ass song, I'm like, I'll be like, hey, I'd like to kind of come up with something like this, draw inspiration from it, but also make something my own.
Okay.
Well, speaking of inspiration, just as we wrap this up, if you were to give someone advice that's changing their boots, like you being a teacher and getting into the music world and taking off as a band, or just changing their boots completely in life, what would you give them advice to keep pushing forward, to keep finding that success?
I would say for me, it's definitely, that's a great question. I think I would probably tell them if you're trying to make music out there and you're trying to be a musician and you're just starting off, it's important to just keep pushing through things. Like, don't see everything that you see online and see like, oh, all these guys have all of these millions of listeners and things like that. That's not what it's about. It's about putting something in the world that wasn't there before, that you created on your own. So I think just making sure that you don't care sometimes about all the numbers, and you just make sure that you're happy doing something and putting something out in the world that wasn't there because you decided that you wanted to do that. And if people listen, they listen. If they don't, you did it for yourself at the end of the day. And I feel like if you did it for yourself and you did it for the right ways, there will be people that find you and you will, help them in some way. So I think that would be the great advice when it comes to also like just pursuing things out there, like in terms of like teachers or like musicians and just choosing a path out there. I think you could do both out there if you want, and at some point, if something has to like take the massive direction and you have to make that choice, then make that choice when it comes to, but like always be versatile in everything that you do. I think that's another great thing to kind of always be. And I think you guys have also shown me on the podcast that you've done it as well. So like, it's incredible to see from you guys too.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. That was the inspiration of the podcast when I brought this idea to Steve, was like, hey, you've been through a real life transition. You've kind of lost your identity, leaving the military, going into civilian life. But this is something everybody faces. Yeah. No matter the country you live in, the language you speak, your religion, everyone goes through a sense of having to find themselves again. And I think that advice rings true for any of those transitions. And, obviously teacher to teacher, I think that there are always that one teacher that is like, that's the person who believed in me. That's the person that showed me I could be anything I want to be. And I think that you're really doing that for your students. And I'm so grateful to have met you today. So grateful to hear your story and talk to you. And when you guys are in Orlando, I'm so excited to come see you live.
Oh, we got to make it happen. I'd love to see you guys. I'd love to see you guys. And thank you for all the kind words too. Because like I said, I think you guys are doing a great thing. And I think this podcast is awesome to like, for a lot of people to kind of like make sure that they're pursuing their dreams. And if you do feel like that you're losing your identity at some point, just keep pushing through, because you will find the light and you will inspire people. So I think you guys are doing awesome things. And I'd love to see you guys in Orlando at a show sometime.
Definitely. We will be there. Thank you so much, Damien.
Thank you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Please like, subscribe, and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Roots to Boots. We'll be talking to you.
Adding soldier.
It's Marie.